I'm Nikbo. I use she, they pronouns, and the name of my EP is Breathe Underwater. Hi, buddy.
Cosmo.
You want to say hi? I did not always know I wanted to be a musician. There weren't any artists or musicians in my family growing up, so I didn't really know that was an option. But I've wanted to sing since I saw The Little Mermaid. And in my house growing up, my dad had a really big record collection. It was super eclectic. I remember we had Bee Gees records, Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young, Byro Gyra, which is an acid jazz band, I think. And then, it was the 90s, so the CDs I remember on repeat were Mariah, Celine Dion, Paula Abdul, and the first album I ever bought myself was Alanis Morissette's Jagged Little Pill, and that is when I started writing music. Purpose-wise, it's catharsis, but chill. My creative practice, making music, is a process for me to practice being more free, to be more myself. I'm really into nervous system regulation these days. I think that's really important just for all of us because it's such an intense time. When I make music, that is what I'm trying to practice for myself, so I hope that that's what comes through. Music-wise, sound-wise, my sound's kind of genre fluid and there's all these different micro-influences in it because I had such an eclectic upbringing. I'm a third culture kid. My parents were born in the Philippines. I was born in Morocco and they raised me and my sibling in Morocco, Canada, Malawi, Kazakhstan, and a little bit of Mozambique before I moved here to the Bay Area for college. And third culture kids grow up in between cultures and sort of make their own out of the two and out of the space they're in. Those sounds and rhythms from Malawi, where I grew up. Actually, it's funny, all of those places from Eastern Africa to Central Asia, they were all still kind of dominated by Western pop charts. And they all obviously have their own local native music. So my music is sort of an outsider's take on pop music. With the support of Balay Kreative, I am working on an EP called Breathe Underwater. It came from a really lonely place in 2021. My mother-in-law passed away unexpectedly. My auntie passed away. A few other members of my family who I didn't know as well in a string, in May and June 2021, they all passed away and my mom was like, what's happening to us? And I'm the only person in my family that lives here in the US. Everyone else lives in Canada and the Philippines. So during that time, I still wasn't traveling. I don't remember if people were traveling in general. I just felt really far away from them and locked behind these borders. And that summer was really hard and lonely. I withdrew from making music. I had just put out an album and for a month I was really excited about it, and then there was so much loss in our family that I kind of fell into a really hopeless place. But then I took this writing workshop called Mapping the Wilds of Grief, and it was taught by an artist named Katrina Gold-Saito. And through that workshop, it helped me reconnect with making music and my creative practice as a way to heal, as a way to feel closer to my family. That workshop inspired me to start this project, interviewing my family, doing oral history, and writing songs about the conversations we have and the stories they told. The beginning of that process started this summer. I went to Calgary, where a lot of my family lives, to interview folks and just really deepen our relationship. And the first 3 songs that came from that project are this EP called Breathe Underwater. It's a collaboration between me and my loved ones and my ancestors, and I'm really excited to share it with people. Backstory, when I first came here to the United States, I was so excited to meet a bunch of Filipinos because I had always, my sibling and I had always been the only Filipinos in school. And then I got here and I was like, Filipinos! And I was Filipino, so I looked Filipino, I sounded Filipino because I had an American accent. I was raised around Americans. I felt disconnected because I didn't know the history. And there were a lot of cultural touch points that I was missing, and I felt a little out of place, an imposter. Over the years, I've put a lot of energy and time into learning more. The Bay Area is such a rich cultural place for Filipinx artists and Filipinos. I've like slowly been trying to tell myself and feel like I belong here as a person in the Filipino diaspora, and joining Balay Kreative and receiving the Balay Kreative Growth Grant was like an extra validation that my diaspora experience, my family's experience matters here. Aw, I'm getting emotional. And just being around this diverse group of artists with such different viewpoints and ways of expressing themselves. Yeah, it's like all of our art is so different. It all matters. So that's a big uplifting that I got from being part of Balay Kreative. I like always think of making art as like in concentric circles. So there's like my process and then like how it affects my closest circles and then how it contributes to the collective. So for myself, the values that I'm trying to remind myself of are that my voice matters, my art matters, I matter in a world where that's always trying to tell you, oh, you need to be better, be different, be really unique, no, fit in. Like you have to change yourself, be accepted. Making music for me is there's nothing you have to fix. For my family, a lot of my songs are inspired by messages that we've exchanged, my family and friends. So for them, my songs are either actual or intended love letters or just letters, things that I want to express to them that might be easier said in song. And then for the larger collective, I just hope to contribute a space where you can feel things. In this fast-paced society, we're encouraged to like move through the grief really fast so you can like get your work done. Don't be a burden on people. Don't be too much. You can't be too proud and too like happy. You gotta just like be in the middle to be accepted. I feel like I get those messages a lot. So with my music, I want to offer a space where you can feel all the feelings that you need to process in like the full real range of being a human in these intense times. This is a reminder as much for myself as for other artists, but that whoever you are, no matter like where you grew up or who raised you, whether you identify as multiracial, you are Filipino enough, and your experience and your story matters to the people around you, and the bigger collective contributes to the bigger collective. And then beyond that, and sort of like in paradox to that, I think it's important for us to keep creating. I'll speak for myself, for me to keep creating, to remind myself that I am more than my Filipino identity, I'm more than any identity. Sometimes we might feel like we want to exist in boxes because they feel safe and known and easy, but the boxes also keep us separated from each other and keep us from really seeing the full breadth of each other. They keep us from intimacy and connecting. And I think artists have a special power to help people break out of those boxes and really connect.